Welcome back to the Huntsman Center. College gymnastics tonight. The University of Utah taking on the Golden Gophers of the University of Minnesota. I'm ABC4's Kent Roop, along with former U.S. Olympian, 12-time All-American, 5-time national champion, and former Utah star Missy Marlowe. Missy, looking forward to another great meet from the Utes against Minnesota.
Well, it's going to be a wonderful meet tonight, as usual. I don't think this crowd expects anything less. The Utes don't really have such a matchup tonight as the last one that we did with Georgia. Of course, Minnesota's coached by my former assistant coaches, so we hope to see him do really well tonight, too.
You're talking about Jim and Meg Stevenson
right.
for the Golden Gophers, and of course, Jim was here the same 4 years you were, 89 to 92.
Right, absolutely wonderful people, and so, like I said, I don't think it's going to be quite the matchup. It's not so much as Utah going to win or lose tonight like it was against Georgia a couple weeks ago. But again, every meet's important, every road trip matters, and really you're only competing against yourself. So
that's exactly right. This is the 4th meet of the season for Utah. Of course, the Utes coached by Greg Marsden. He's been here for 33 years.
33 years.
And he's established quite a legacy here at the University of Utah.
Absolutely. The most winning coach in women's sports history. There's not a whole lot more you can say about that. Has set virtually every standard there is to be set, from facilities to the recruiting process to the amount of people in the stands. Utah's on their way to winning another attendance record, the highest in the country.
That's
so
right.
Let's fill the stands tonight.
Now, Utah is ranked 2nd in the country now. They've won their first 3 meets, and they've moved up from 3rd to 2nd in the rankings.
Right.
Not that it means a great deal at this point, but it's nice to talk about.
Right. No, it doesn't mean anything at this point. However, Georgia is 1st, and we beat Georgia, so we'll keep that in the back of our minds. You know, everything's a confidence builder. Gymnastics is a very psychological sport. It's really quite scary to be out there on the equipment. You're one-on-one. You're not on a field with a lot of teammates at the same time. It's a very mental sport. So every win's important. Every routine's important.
And a couple athletes we'll be keeping an eye on for Utah. Of course, the senior, Ashley Postel, the all-around leader for Utah, and she's always the one to keep an eye on.
Always the one to keep an eye on. Currently ranked 2nd in the country in terms of all-around averages, and she likes to win. She likes to win all the time. She'll be wonderful tonight.
We'll look for that, and we'll be back with the start of tonight's meet between the Utes and the Golden Gophers right after this. Welcome back to the Huntsman Center. We are just about ready to get this meet underway between the University of Utah and the University of Minnesota. Utah will be up first on vault, Minnesota on bars. And Missy, I'm curious, now that we're in February, the Utes have 3 meets under their belt. What do they need to do now as we get into February to get ready for the rest of the season?
Well, they're working on a few upgrades, although that might not happen for another couple of meets or so. But, you know, you never leave the very hardest routines for the end of the season. By mid-season, they'll be doing everything that they want to be competing in nationals. And really, I mean, luckily for the Utes, it's just the small things. They're a really relatively healthy team, which is nice. In the past, that hasn't always been the case. But, you know, rather than Greg having to go down the lineup and pick the girls that are healthy, they're really fighting for their spots right now. So it's a great place to be in.
Well, Utah's off to a great start to the season, 3-0 with an opening win over Georgia, the #1 ranked team, the 3-time defending champions. Then they came back to the Huntsman Center, beat Nebraska, won on the road last week and won at Arizona State. And Utah's score has gotten a little bit better each time out.
I think it was a really great motivating factor to beat Georgia here. I mean, it was the first time in 8 matchups that they've done that.
Well, it was kind of a mental stumbling block, wasn't it, for Utah? I mean, they hadn't beaten them in so long that it was nice to finally get over the hump.
Absolutely. And Georgia has won here on the Huntsman floor. So great way to start there. And the NCAA championships are at Georgia. So obviously this team's going to want to take that knowledge that they can be beat to nationals with them in Athens this year.
That's going to be fun. All right, we are ready for action. And first up on vault for Utah, Daria Bijak.
Daria's doing a front handspring, front layout, and check this out. Unbelievable. Daria Bijak. That is truly one of the hardest vaults that can be performed. Now, she had a fairly good-sized step on the landing. But
a little over-rotation, is that what that was?
Right. Unbelievably difficult. I can't even describe the amount of power off the board it takes to make that vault.
So Daria Bijak gets Utah off and running on the vault. Now, up on bars for the Minnesota Golden Gophers is Jade Beatty.
The gymnasts are required to move between the bars at least twice, and a little bit of a rough start already. That was a release move called a a reverse hex. I'm thinking back to vault here. She just, I don't know, a little too much adrenaline. Maybe she just held onto the bar a little bit too long, but over the bar, didn't quite get it back in her hands. Resuming the routine, the gymnasts have 30 seconds to remount. They can reach off if they want to.
That's a tough way to start on the opening routine of the night.
That puts some pressure on. Now, they'll count 5 out of the top 6 routines, so every routine here. If that's the only mistake, then they're in good shape.
So that was Jade Beatty from Minnesota. Now we've got Annie DeLuzio up on vault for the Utes.
And this is your Yurchenko full, a round off back handspring onto the horse, laid out full twist. There's the round off back handspring, lay out full, and again, she's just a little bit too piked in the air. She needs to stay completely, totally extended just a little bit longer, and then she won't be over-rotating at the end.
Annie's season high 9.8 against both Nebraska and Arizona State, but there's that little hop at the end.
She just wasn't quite completely extended in the air.
All right, now we're ready to go with Kendra Elm for Minnesota on the bars. And they can't afford any more falls already early in this rotation.
Nope, they cannot. And it's so hard to regain confidence after a tough road meet. So hopefully they'll be able to pull it together here. It's important that the gymnasts are in perfectly straight vertical handstands. There's a hop full to another blind full, blind half, a really difficult pirouetting combination. There's our first transition to low bar and back to high bar. Giant swing. Giant swing and double layout. Really good dismount. And unfortunately, 3 steps there on the landing. That really was a clean double layout off the bars.
That was Kendra Elm. Now we'll go back to the vault and Nina Kim for Utah.
This is the same vault that we saw Annie DeLuzio do. A Yurchenko layout full. Needs to stay completely straight. And there was a better landing. She was still just slightly piked in the air, but finally, Utah manages to stick a landing, and look how excited she is. That felt good.
That is a big Nina Kim smile right there, and look at this, Missy.
Well, Nina has really had a good year so far. She struggled a little bit with commitment the last couple years, and especially before coming to college. She was just a little burnt out. You know, these gymnasts go through so much in junior high and high school. Most of them are homeschooled. It's just hard training, 5, 6, 7 hours a day, all through junior high, all through high school. So it can really be tough to kind of stay committed. But, you know, this is an opportunity that athletes just simply never get.
All right, for Minnesota, this is Kristen Furukawa on the bars.
There's a blind half to immediate Jaeger. That will help her start value both in difficulty of the Jaeger itself and in the combination, and a really good save there. She almost not only did make the pirouette, but she's actually a little bit sideways. She managed to hang on. This dismount sequence. Giant. Another double layout, and there's a better landing, just a small hop that time.
We're halfway through the first rotation. We'll be back for the second half right after this. We're back at the Huntsman Center, and on vault, this is Kendall Robarts, the freshman from Texas.
There's a half on.
Yeah.
And again, an incredibly difficult vault. It is so hard to twist onto the horse and be strong enough to the shoulder angle to get that kind of pop. You can see half turn pike. She really almost stuck it cold and then just had to take the step back. A great vault.
Her college career is off to an interesting start, isn't it, here at Utah?
Well, she was really thrown into the first meet against Georgia
right.
when Coach Marsden just didn't feel like a couple of the regularly scheduled girls were up to the task after making some mistakes on bars, and just handled it like a champ. I think she's been a really pleasant surprise so far.
Let's go back over to the bars, and Minnesota's Yuri Nagai.
A little bit short on that handstand. That's called a toe shoot to high bar. Sort of a full pirouette on high bar. Turn one way and the other to a beautiful pack salto. These names sound funny. They're named after the first gymnast to perform them in international competition. So a lot of German names, a lot of Chinese and Japanese names.
Christina Basquette, the junior from Washington State, on vault.
And here's a Yurchenko full also. There she gets an unbelievable pop off the horse. Now, you could say that she stuck that, although she has saluted awfully quickly. I'm not sure that the judges will give it a complete stick. But she did get her arms up, and technically that's when the ball is over, is when she saluted. So definitely the best block we've seen so far out of the Yurchenko vaults. She had the highest rise and the strongest block off the floor.
There's a couple more scores for you on vault. Nina Kim 9.9 and Kendall Robarts 9.875.
And these are definitely higher scores than we saw in the first two meets.
And we'll see what the judges think of Christina Basquet's
They're
vault in
obviously
just a
rewarding
moment.
the better landings. That's what they've been looking for.
On bars now, this is Minnesota's Carmelina Carbajal, and probably their best all-around
Top
athlete.
all-rounder. She is capable of scoring a 9.9 on every event. That was a ganger and a little bit close to the bar. She had just a small form break when she caught with her feet. There's a shoot half. Routines on every event except for vault started at 9.5, and the athletes worked their way up to a 10.0 by difficulty and or combinations. And that was a full twisting double back dismount.
She seems pleased with that over there on the bars. And now here we go. The sixth and final competitor for Utah on vault, Ashley Postel, the
And this
senior.
is by far the hardest vault that is performed. Definitely one of the best in the country. It's a half on, pike half off. And that just may do it. Absolutely.
Look at that
planted
smile.
on the landing. And, you know, the judges really aren't going to have a choice, I don't think, by scoring Nina's a 9.9. Here we have the harder vault. And really, I mean, that is absolutely phenomenal.
So if you're judging,
If I'm judging and we've seen the scores we've seen, she's going to have to get a 10.
well, listen to the crowd and that ovation and the hugs. And
9.95, I think.
one of the judges was a 9.95. We'll see what the judges are going to come up with. But what a vault by Ashley Postel.
Well, Utah's done a great job. Can't see yet.
It's a 10.
There we go. Well, you know, she has struggled with scoring, not with the vault itself, but for years now we've been saying that she has been ripped on the score. And really, as a coach, there is no way to tell her how to do that vault any better.
What a great start for the Utes tonight on this apparatus.
Well, it's so nice to see her finally get scored what she should deserve. You know, we see so many layout Yurchenko fulls. It seems like every team has 4 or 5 of them. And they score in the 9.899 range, and then Ashley's been scoring in the 9.8s with this harder vault. So finally the judges are realizing just how difficult it is.
Minnesota's final competitor on bars is Angela Walker. And she's got a tough act to follow over there after that 10.
Well, she does, although right now she's really knocking out this routine. Her form has been absolutely perfect. Handstands are right on top of the bar. Legs are tight. I mean, you can see everything's right in there. A little bit easier, just double tight dismount. But a really clean routine. And, you know, Minnesota did a really good job of recovering after that first rough bar routine.
We didn't see Christina Basquet's score earlier, but there it is, a 9.925 to go along with Ashley Postel's 10, and the Utes are off to a great start. All right, that's going to wrap up rotation number 1. When we come back, the Utes will be on bars and Minnesota will be on vault. Stay with us. All right, Minnesota on the vault. First up for the Golden Gophers, Angela Walker.
She will be competing a Yurchenko layout. This has a start value of a 9.8.
So no way she can get a 9.9 or a 10 on this.
Right. Round up back handspring layout, and really a pretty good stretch position in the air. She bent her arms just a little bit on the block, but a good solid landing. And a much better start on vault so far than they had on bars,
Right.
so that's a relief for the Gophers.
Exactly. Over to the bars we go, and Kendall Roberts for the University of Utah.
There's a blind full pirouette to Tkachev. Half pirouette, immediate pack salto. The judges are looking for perfectly straight arms. Of course, perfectly straight legs.
Naturally.
Blind full pirouette, immediately to a double back. And a good solid routine. And not one of the harder dismounts that we'll see, but it was combined directly with the full pirouette in front of it, rather than just the giant swings.
So Kendall Roberts gets the Utes off to a good start on bars. Minnesota's Kristen Furukawa now up on the vault.
This will be the same vault at Yurchenko layout with a 9.8. And just over-rotated, a big step on the landing. She had a nice tight position in the air. She's just a slight slight bit pike. She opens that up just a tiny bit more and goes to a little bit more of a hollow position than a pike, and she won't need to take such a big step back. It's really a pretty powerful vault.
But as you mentioned, worth only 9.8 to start, and then the deductions from there, from 9.8. For Utah now on the bars, Nina Kim.
Nina has a high of 9.925 last year on bars. A toe on, toe off to Kachev. Handstand half pirouette to immediate shoot half to immediate toe shoot. There's her bonus right there for the connections. Giant, giant, and a half in, half out, and just a small hip forward. A really good, solid routine. She looked like she got just a little bit hung up on the dismount. I thought she might come in a touch short. Did a good job holding on to it. There's her opening sequence, the toe on, toe off to the reverse hatch.
Nina certainly got off to a good start tonight with a 9.9 on vault. We'll see what the judges thought of her performance on the bars. Back to the vault now, and Minnesota's Ashley Muchler.
This vault will be a tucked Yurchenko full, so a full twist, but in the tuck position, it's worth a 9.9. And easily performed. That vault had a good block off the horse. She tucked her knees just a little bit early, but obviously had no problem pulling that around.
Now one of the hometown favorites for Utah, Jessica Duke from Sandy on the bars.
There's a vault over low bar. Hop full pirouette to immediate ganger. Shoot half handstand. Beautiful form on this routine so far. Setting up for a dismount sequence. Giant, giant. Half in, half out. Ooh, and she landed on a little bit of stiff knees there. Really piped the dismount down. She's had a high of 9.9, although I don't think she'll see that with the step on the dismount. There's her ganger, named after the first German gymnast to perform it on the men's high bar.
All right, we're halfway through the second rotation. We'll be back with the rest right after this. Back at the Huntsman Center, and up on vault is Jade Beatty for Minnesota.
There's a front handspring half turn, front handspring, front somersault with a half twist.
There you see a couple of scores for Utah. Kendall Robarts with a 9.750 and Nina Kim 9.825. Daria Bijak is up now for Utah on bars.
Toe on, toe off to Shaposhnikova. Handstand half pirouette. Line full pirouette. Ganger a little bit in close to the bar on that. She did a good job of not taking an extra swing or having an obvious deduction, but she will lose a little bit for the bent arms on the catch. Eagle grip, double front. And she almost hit that. Just the smallest step right there.
She's pretty pleased with it, but there was just a little...
Well, that is, look, it's hard to tell, but her hands aren't in a normal overgrip on the bar. She's swinging through an eagle grip, which is so incredibly difficult.
Well, even to the uninitiated, you could see that grip was a little bit different than what the other girls are doing.
Try this. Go home, grab your broom handle, and try to hold on that way. You won't be able to do it. And there's a nice layout Yurchenko full of really clean landing.
Again, that's Carmelina Carabajal for Minnesota. They're all around.
Really great vault there. I mean, no deductions on the landing, just a little bit piked in the air. She just needs to stretch it out a little bit, but a good solid vault for Minnesota. And she looks very pleased with herself on that vault, as she should be.
Next up for Utah, it's Christina Basquet's turn over there on the bars, Missy.
As a freshman, she won this event.
At Nationals.
At Nationals.
That's not bad.
That's
Good way
not
to start
bad.
your college career as a freshman.
Isn't it, though?
Coming off a 9.925 on vault.
Beautiful handstand positions. Her lines are so clean, an incredibly difficult combination right there. If she were to ever be off on that first pirouette or that first year Tkachev, there's just no way to continue the routine. And I have never seen her miss it. Unbelievable double lift. Now she struggled in workout the last couple weeks as she hurt her ribs. It was reported in the paper and was really in quite a lot of pain. Insisted that she compete in last week's meet, and has actually been taken down in the lineup a little bit on a few events. So I think she's really determined to work her way back into the last 2 or 3 spots rather than being in the first half.
Well, against Nebraska, she didn't do the balance beam or the floor, but she did last week at Arizona State, and now this week again too. For Minnesota on beam, or on vault rather, that's Jamie Bullock.
And another great Yurchenko full, a little bit lower off the horse, not quite the pop that we saw from Carmelina. But Minnesota certainly rebounded after a little bit of a shaky start on bars.
And we just have
Next up on bars for the University of Utah.
one athlete to compete here in this rotation, and that's Ashley Postel coming off a perfect 10 on vault. We'll see what Ashley can do on bars here.
Well, Ashley is a rock-solid competitor. She is absolutely seemingly unfazed by any type of pressure. It's a high score of 9.95 to date. Absolutely perfect pack salto. There's that eagle grip again. She needs to stick this. Half a tenth on the dismount.
You think that'll be a half a tenth, do you think?
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
She could go 9.9, but there's the eagle grip, double front. She just came out the tiniest bit too easy. Right, her heels just weren't quite high enough. You saw that. Not even so much a step, it's just a little bit of a slide.
All right, we are through the second rotation and halfway through the meet. We'll be back with the third rotation at the Huntsman Center right after this timeout. Welcome back to the John M. Huntsman Center for NCAA Women's Gymnastics. Utah hosting Minnesota, and halfway through this meet, Missy, and Utah looking very good for just their 4th meet of the year.
Right, they look phenomenal tonight. Bars, they tied their score from last week's meet, so no improvements per se, at least by judging, although it is very hard to compare one meet to the next. You've got different judges, and so obviously that changes, but very solid, very consistent performances, and the girls, they're definitely on a roll here. They know they're second place to Georgia. I can guarantee that none of them are thinking at this point in time about taking over that first place spot, but if it were to come out Monday morning that that's what happened, I'm sure they'd be thrilled.
So let's go over to the balance beam, Missy, your favorite. And Jamie Dietzkrieg is going to lead things off for Utah.
Oh, I don't remember feeling like it was my favorite, but
You were pretty good,
if you say so, I'll believe you. You know, I was good in college. I was not good in club. Beam is just an unbelievable event to compete. It's, I mean, you watch gymnasts do it, and it looks so easy, and if you were to try to even get up there and walk down the beam, you would be scared out of your mind. I mean, even when I get up when I'm coaching and, you know, something easy, I don't know, a full turn or something, I think, how in the world did I ever do this? There's a front aerial to a beautiful wolf jump. That's combination, or a bonus, both for the combinations and for the difficulty of the front aerial. It's required that the gymnast do a leap or jump combination of at least 2 skills combined.
Now, this is one of the
Required to do
disciplines
the
that you were
full
talking
turn.
about that starts at a 9.5 and moves up from there, right?
Bars, beam, and floor all start at a 9.5 with basic requirements met, and a great solid beginning for Utah on the beam.
Jamie Dietzkrieg in the leadoff position tonight for Utah, and pretty good way to start on the beam. Coming up on the floor now for Minnesota will be Jamie Bullock. Excuse me, Jade Beatty. Jade Beatty on the floor for the Golden Gophers.
Floor routines are a maximum of 1:30, minimum of 1:10. It's a 1/10 deduction if the gymnast step over the white line. They may step on it, but not over.
And we saw that a few times in our first meet of the year against the University of Georgia.
Right. Well, it's hard to come out there. I mean, there's a lot of adrenaline with the first meet.
Especially
Timing
against the top-ranked
changes.
team.
Right. Timing changes when, you know, you're that pumped up and it's easy to over-rotate the passes. Middle tumbling run, round off back handspring, full and a half, front pike. That also is a requirement for the floor to have 2 saltos within 1 tumbling pass. There's required lead combination. The gymnasts choose their own floor music based on their own style of dance.
And there have been some interesting choices over the years, haven't
There
there?
are. I have to say, and I'm not being biased, I pretty much always love Utah's floor music and their choreography. Some other schools get a little interesting sometimes. And really, a really beautiful routine. I like the routines that dance and that move, as opposed to just hitting pose after pose after pose.
Jade Beatty for the Gophers.
Next up on the beam for Utah.
Now, back to the beam, and Kendall Robarts is up for the Utes. The Utes, sometimes referred to as the Red Rocks. Which do you prefer?
Yeah, I like them both.
All right.
What do you prefer?
I'm a Utah man.
Yeah, okay. Front aerial, it's required to do a front or side skill. Setting up for her tumbling series. Back handspring step out, layout step out. Oh! Now even she knows that that was creative. Don't you love it? You know, I have to tell you.
Now, she didn't
You
fall
can
to the
see-
floor,
No, that's
and she
it's so painful. It's actually good that
I'll
she's
bet.
in a meet because that stings your leg like you would not believe. And when you're forced to keep moving, that helps. Her foot just really completely slipped off the side, and
Now,
you
how
know,
much of a
technically, if
deduction
you
is-
fall to the beam, that is a fall.
So that's a half a
yeah.
point of 5/10.
Well, let's see what they do, but
Okay.
it should be.
She handled it pretty well from a
Well,
theatrical
she didn't grab
standpoint.
onto the beam, so actually the deduction comes. Now, my understanding is that it's if you actually grab onto the beam to prevent from falling, but.
Or fall to the floor.
Truly, yeah, I think they'd have a hard time not calling that as a fall, but you have to give her credit for keeping her
I'll
composure.
say. That's pretty
And
solid.
she will have a nice raspberry on the side of her leg from that, and a great round up double fall. You know, and that's just really unusual, and I'm sure she's feeling like, how in the world did this happen? Round off double twist, a great landing on the
It's going to be
dismount.
sore in the morning, huh?
It'll sting in the shower tonight, yeah.
Kendra
Kind of
Elm
the
is up now for
Equivalent of
Minnesota.
turf burn, I think, although maybe not quite so bad, but. She's heavily taped through her ankles and shins.
It's been a long year. And it's only February
Already.
1st.
Well, the pounding that gymnasts take is pretty amazing. That was a clean double pike opening tumbling run. Tumbling skills are rated, well, all gymnastic skills are rated A through E, E being the most difficult. That was a D. So second most difficult. It's 1/10 to perform an element that's a D, 2/10 for an E.
I did not know that. And so I assume some of our viewers at home did not know that as well.
I can teach you something.
Yes.
That's my job, right?
That's exactly right.
You'll let me come back next time.
Better believe it. Against Oregon State. March 7th will be our next meet. It'll be on TV on ABC4 Sunday, March 9th at 11 a.m. The Oregon State Beavers. We're getting ahead of ourselves only slightly, but we look forward to you and Wesley Ruff on that
Okay.
broadcast.
Okay, they're allowed to take just a little bit of a breather there. Floor routines are really exhausting. If you ever try to go out and just sprint for a minute and a half, it doesn't feel so good. As long as the gymnasts don't actually stop, come to a complete stop, or take more than 2 seconds.
That was Kendra Elm. And there you see Jade Beatty's score of 9.600.
Now, speaking of Wesley, I understand he's on a cruise right now.
He's cruising the Caribbean.
Know that it's been a whiteout all day and about 14 degrees here in Salt Lake. I'm sure he feels bad about missing that.
He's very disappointed to have to miss all the snow
Yes.
shoveling that we've been doing here. Let's go back to the beam, and Christina Basquette competing third on the beam tonight for Utah.
Well, she's used to being 5th or 6th in the lineup. Had a couple week practices. She actually injured her ribs a little bit. Nothing real serious, but a few painful days in there, and absolutely insisted that she compete. Coach Marsman is going to hold her out, and she needs to work her way back into the 5th or probably not 6th spot with Ashley, but 4th or 5th for sure. And she's going to need some consistent performances, especially in practice, not just in competition.
Right. I know Greg Marsden.
Absolute stickler for practice. You will never, ever compete anything you can't hit in practice.
And Christina off to a great start tonight with a 9.925 vault and a 9.925 on bars.
There's a required leap, switch leap, or scissor leap, straddle jump, 6/10 of bonus there, so more than she actually needs.
That looks hard without having to do it on a 4-inch wide beam.
Well, flexibility is so incredibly important in gymnastics for the purpose of leaps and jumps, but also, as for all athletes, for injury prevention. Round off double twist and a nice duck landing. You know, 3 times now she's cleaned up those landings, and it's going to show in her score, and that was a great routine for Christina. I'm hoping that she doesn't like this spot and she wants 5th place back. That's what I want for Christina.
I think we may have gotten a little hint that that may be the case there. That was a pretty solid beam routine for Christina Basquette. Now, on floor, it's Angela Walker from Minnesota.
Strong dynamic music. I like Minnesota's choices so far. It's upbeat and fun without being too overpowering or not too techno pop, which I think we all got our fill of that in the several years ago.
I think it's safe to say, yeah.
Inversion take full to straddle full. The turning jumps are actually worth quite a bit. You'd be surprised. Some of those jumps are worth as much as the double backs in terms of difficulty, right at the D's that I talked about. The gymnast must be completely turned and not cheating on the takeoff or the landing in order to get the bonus 10. Double twist. Pretty heavily taped right knee. Looks like it's holding strong so far.
We've seen quite a few of the Minnesota athletes that have had taped knees and ankles. They've taken quite a pounding in the early part of the season, apparently.
They have. Final tumbling run. Front handspring, front full punch front, and her foot slid out on the landing of the front full. That's a tough break. Minnesota's put up a couple good floor routines so far.
We're halfway through the 3rd rotation. We'll be back with more right after this. Back here at the Huntsman Center, and it's Nina Kim on the balance beam.
Nina was coached in club gymnastics by Yevgeny Marchenko, coach of Carly Patterson, our last Olympic champion. And Nina is an absolutely beautiful competitor on beam and floor.
And Nina's going all around tonight. She's competed already on vault and bars, and will finish it out for Utah tonight. We'll see how she does.
Front aerial. Slightly off, although she held on to that really well. Now the combination of the front aerial and the jump is bonus, as well as the difficulty on the front aerial. If she were to have wobbled any more and broken that, she would have lost 1/10 of her bonus. Scissor side leap. Dismount, round off, double twist, oh, 4.5, and another solid routine. Now that probably wasn't the best routine I've seen her do. She had just the slightest balance checks on a few of these. So you see front aerial, you can just see ever so slightly to the right. And then again, I mean, not more than about a quarter of a tenth or so, but boy, these guys are really saving themselves by not taking the steps on the landings that they've had in the last couple of meets. So
last week in Phoenix against Arizona State, Nina was 9.85, and we'll see how that compares. And now let's go back to the floor. And this is Ashley Muchler.
Whip to double pike. Solid first pass. That's her double salto pass.
This is aggressive music.
It is. Well, so far she's got a good routine going. Again, she's heavily taped also, and she actually has a pretty good toe point. Oh, no. Now she did something to her heel there. You know, that was interesting. She just jumped into her tumbling run and must have pushed the heel forward or something. I was just about to say, one problem with taping the ankles is that, at least for less experienced athletes, it's very hard to point your toes because your foot's forced back, and that can be a deduction.
She is in a lot of pain as they take her off the floor. That's too bad for Ashley Muchler from Minnesota. On the beam now is Daria Bijak for Utah.
Oh, interesting. I don't know, sort of a front walkover. The gymnast can
We don't see that
choose.
mount very often.
No, quite pretty. Backhand spring layout. Now the youths really look comfortable on beam here. The gymnast can choose to do a difficult mount worth bonus. If it's a D or an E, again, it's 1 or 2/10 bonus, or a lot of gymnasts prefer to just get on the beam, get the routine going, and save the difficulty for the skills themselves.
Now, we saw something like that in the opening meet against Georgia, where Courtney Kupets tried a very difficult mount and wound up falling on her mount, and that cost Georgia the meet.
Right. Well, and it's, no, I like doing difficult mounts. I mean, it didn't phase me for the routine, but it is tough to start a routine with a miss right off the bat.
Yeah.
You know, you certainly
and then you got to get back on there.
Feel that for the rest of the routine. Yeah. Switch leap. It's important that the gymnast hit 180-degree split leap or more, or the straddle position, same thing. Oh, and quite a large balance check on the full turn. Really probably just a lapse in concentration. That's not a difficult move. Punch, front full, and a large step on the landing. So a good routine, not the best that she's capable of, but still a solid performance.
We should mention Daria is the 2005 and 2006 German national champion. Back to the floor now, and for Minnesota, this is Carmelina Carbajal.
Minnesota's top-ranked gymnast. Has a career high of 9.9 on the floor. She's scored that 3 times in the past. Opening tumbling run, round up back handspring, full twisting double back, landed a little bit low, but boy, that's a really difficult first tumbling pass, a double back with a full twist. Very dramatic music as a team. Very instrumental. Front handspring, front layout, front layout. Beautiful leaps and jumps. She really is completely split extended and almost overturned on everything she's done so far. Final tumbling run. Round up back handspring, pike double back, and a really good recovery for Minnesota after losing their last routine. Yeah, that can be just a real demoralizing.
Right. I was going to say that has to have a real impact on the team, but Carmelina Carbajal came back with a real nice routine on floor, and now It's Ashley Postel for Utah on the balance beam. And she's good.
She has scored a 10-0 twice. And she is on a roll tonight. We will see what Ashley has in store for us. A small balance check there with her right arm. Front tug. Switch leap. Full twisting. Back handspring. Ashley is so in command and in control on beam. It's absolutely amazing. She is just completely unafraid. And the moves she does are so difficult, and she does them with such ease that it's almost, it's just funny to me to watch almost, because she's so solid, like that right there. I truly cannot imagine even trying to learn that. What is that like the first time you throw that on the real beam? You know, and she makes it look like nothing. Absolutely a fiercely tough competitor. Round off double twist dismount. Just a slight balance check at the beginning, and she knows that's going to keep her from the 10. She's capable of doing a triple twist on the dismount. Does not need to for any difficulty purposes here.
And now to wrap up the third rotation for Minnesota on the floor, this is Amanda Miles.
Double twist to back layout step out. A little bit of an unusual double salto pass, landed cleanly. Switch ring to Shushanova.
And we've seen a lot of tape on Minnesota's athletes, and now we've got a brace here.
Back brace. Whip half to front full. Nice tall landings on her tumbling passes for the first two passes. You'll notice the music starts to slow down a little bit after the second tumbling pass, giving the gymnast just a little bit of a chance to catch your breath.
So obviously that's by design then, to slow the
Yep,
music
that's
down.
not a mistake. Not a mistake. Minnesota really has very impressive leaps and jumps. I've seen a lot of schools that are just slightly underturned, and they are definitely not making that mistake. Final tumbling run, round up back handspring, tuck double back, and a great strong finish from Minnesota on floor.
Amanda Miles for the Golden Gophers. We are 3/4 of the way through this meet between Utah and Minnesota. We'll be back with the final rotation right after this. Welcome back to the Huntsman Center for college gymnastics between Utah and Minnesota. We are through 3 rotations, and Utah continues to post season highs in every event, and coming off a balance beam score of 49.325. Their previous best was last week at Arizona State, 49.2. So the Utes making those little improvements that you want to see at this point of the season.
Exactly, and that's really all you want to see. They know it's not an adrenaline meet like Georgia was, but this is one where consistency absolutely matters, and all the coaches want to see is that you're getting a little bit better meet by meet. No one is interested in peaking in mid-February, and you always have to see upward progress. They're doing a great job of that tonight.
So they beat their score in beam for the season. They tied it in bars, and they smashed it in vault. And the Utes are on the floor, and first up for Utah will be Katie Cavisto.
Gorgeous opening tumbling run. I was afraid for a second she was going to go out of bounds, but she had no problem staying in when she lunged backwards instead of forwards. expressive dancer. She's really fun to watch on the floor. Whip half to front full. Taking a little breather before the third tumbling run. Round off full and a half to front layout, and a great start for Utah. Not the most difficult of individual skills, but really strong combination tumbling.
That's Katie Cavisto on the floor for Utah. So the Utes get off to a solid start on floor exercise.
Here's round off, full and a half to front layout.
First up on the beam for Minnesota, Jamie Bullock.
Jamie Bullock will be on the balance beam now for Minnesota.
Required full turn. It's important that the judges or the gymnasts don't pause for too long before the bigger skills. Back handspring layout. She barely fit that onto the beam. It's hard for the taller gymnast to fit 3 skills on. Switch leap, slightly under split, good straddle jump to back handspring swing down. Front aerial, small balance check on the landing. Side aerial to top full dismount. Good dismount, a little bit unusual there.
Usually we see
And
him
a good
dismount
start.
on the other side of the beam, but she chose to go on the south side instead of the north side. I'm not sure if that has any impact on the judges.
No,
Probably not.
It doesn't matter.
Beth Rizzo on the floor now for Utah.
A true Utah success story.
A
Coming
walk-on.
to Utah as a walk-on. Only the second in history, along with Meredith King of my years and a good friend of mine, to become a walk-on at Utah and an All-American status.
That is unbelievable. What a story.
Isn't that wonderful? Full and half twist to front layout, and she is just so strong and powerful. She makes it look so easy.
Season high is 9.8 on floor. Her career best is 9.875 on floor.
So far, a really strong routine going for Beth. I've only heard the NFL music one other time on floor, and it was one of my gymnasts about 5 years ago. So,
Well, I like it. It strikes a chord with me.
different, I know. Real masculine.
Was that a 10th deduction for being too masculine?
No. Luckily, Beth is not masculine. Very beautiful gymnast. Round off back handspring, tuck double back. Now she sets her shoulders back and doesn't pull into a very tight tuck on that, and she's so strong she just doesn't need to. Landed easily. And one comment Coach Marston made was that they need to be upgrading their last tumbling passes to get the D's at least in on the last tumbling passes. And Beth does that here, finishing with a double back, or excuse me, that was the first pass, double pike. But finishing with the tuck double back is what the judges want to see, those hard upgraded last tumbling passes.
On beam now for Minnesota is Kristen Furukawa, and this is a lineup change
Well,
because
last
of the
minute
injury.
substitution, right.
Ashley Muchler was injured on the floor, and so this is her replacement, Kristen Furukawa.
Just a few little bounce checks on the beginning there. Now that she's up on the beam, I think it'll be a little easier to for her to keep the routine going. Front aerial, beautiful landing. into layout, step out, another solid tumbling pass. It's always a little stressful to be thrown in at the last minute. There's a great deal of, oh, foot slipped. Well, now that's the second time we've seen a foot slip, and the gymnast hasn't fallen.
Kendall Robarts pulled that off earlier for
Yeah.
Utah in this meet.
But as I was
Although it
saying,
was a
it's
major
little
deduction.
bit well, yes, it's a major deduction. A little bit unnerving to be thrown in the last minute. Balance beam is such a psychologically challenging event. It's always nice to be able just to prepare, to know that it's coming. So to do it kind of last minute, it's a little, be a little stressful.
That was Kristen Furukawa. Now it's Nina Kim.
Last score was a career high for Beth Rizzo. Front handspring, double twist, punch front.
We should mention this is the first time Nina has done floor exercise in 2008.
Well, I am so thrilled because she's just one of my favorite gymnasts to watch. Her flexibility and her elegance makes her so pretty. And not only is she doing all around tonight, but what a job of it is she doing. She's actually really pushing Ashley Costell for the all-around title.
And Christina Basquet is right in the running as well.
Yeah, that's just a great situation to be in, to have 3 or 4 gymnasts that are all vying for the all-around. I mean, there's not a lot more you could ask for a team at this point.
Pushing each other out here, and no doubt pushing each other in practice, too.
Not double back, you know, and she knows what kind of an all-around score she has on the line. You can just see it in her face. She says looks like she just has a real sense of almost relief here, knowing that she just did about as well as she is possibly capable of doing tonight. Front handspring, Rudy. And what a competition for Nina. She should be
And look at her
pleased
teammates.
with herself.
Well, her teammates are obviously pleased with this.
Front handspring, Rudy. Last pass.
From Minnesota, Amanda Miles.
Now for Minnesota on the balance beam, it's Amanda Miles.
Little scissor leap over the top of the beam for her mount. It is required that the gymnast go down to the beam at least once in the routine. Top full, nice solid landing, and completely turn on that. Back handspring, layout, step out. And I like Minnesota's taking some real chances on these series by doing the 3 tumbling skills. Much more difficult than just a back handspring layout. Oh, slight balance check. The judges are looking for the gymnast to be dancing up on high tiptoe. Again, same as bars and floor. Perfect form, completely extended and split leaps. Setting up for her dismount. Excuse me, front tumbling skill, front handspring, step out, into the dismount, layout, front full. A little bit of an unusual dismount combination. And another really good routine for Minnesota.
Amanda Miles for the Golden Gophers. We're halfway through the final rotation. We'll be back with the rest of rotation number 4 right after this. On the floor for the Utes, it's Christina Basquet.
And she is the most entertaining performer on this Utah team on floor. She likes to dance. She's a great dancer. And she sometimes has problems controlling this opening tumbling run. It's a double pike. And that was a really solid landing. She is capable of doing a full twist on that, and she just has not been able to make it in practice. And she needs to get that upgraded first pass in to be competitive with the really big guns on floor.
To get up to an E.
Good, wow. That's impressive. Full and a half to front layout. Now Utah knows that they've had a great meet tonight, and that really helps take the pressure off. It's when, you know, when there's when you know you're going to win, and it's just a matter of, you know, do you do really
How high
well
are you
or
going to
do
set
do
the bar?
great?
Yeah.
That's an easy situation to be in. Scissor side to Shushanova. You know, she does a good job of doing kind of the funky hip-hop dance, but also still dancing through the routine. It's not just one style. She shows a lot of diversity and a lot of energy in her dance. Final tumbling run. So far, a fantastic floor routine. 2.5 twist. And she has struggled with that in workout also. Megan Marsden talking before the meet about her troubles with the 2.5, and she really pulled out a good one there. Knowing that she's pushing Nina Kim for the all-around and Ashley Postel also.
Was there a slight step out there for Christina at the end of that tumbling run?
I don't think so.
Okay.
There was, I missed it.
Pretty solid for Christina Basquet. Now back on the beam, we've got Angela Walker for Minnesota.
Switch leap, straddle jump, straddle jump. Tumbling series back handspring to layout, step out. Oh, and you know, save. There you go. There's the save. You know, she really looked pretty clean initially on the landing. I think she just didn't finish the skill all the way through to the very end. Again, noting the head coaches from Minnesota were the assistant coaches the 4 years that I was at Utah. Jim and Meg Stevenson, two of the most wonderful people I have ever met.
And have they been at Minnesota ever since they left here in '92?
They have. They have. Oh, and I'm supposed to say a cute couple.
There you go. You got that
There
in.
you go, Jim. Well, they are, so I can say it.
If you think it's cold here in Salt Lake City, what do you think it is in Minneapolis
Boy,
right now?
I can't imagine it. And not only that, but he said it's been an especially brutal winter.
Really?
So
Worse than
I
you?
don't do well in the cold. Cartwheel swing through full and a good stuck landing. An unfortunate balance error on that backhand swing layout. Otherwise, a solid routine.
Next up on the floor for the
For
University of
Utah now on the floor is Stephanie Neff.
And Utah is posting some really high floor scores. 2 more routines to go.
A couple of 9.9s there for Beth Rizzo and Christina Basquet on a 9.925 for Nina Kim. This all-around is going to be very interesting depending on what Ashley does on the floor.
Well, there are going to be 3 very high scores. Punch, double front, and you know, that's just crazy.
That looked,
That's just
that was coming
crazy.
right at us.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure she could dunk a basketball.
She's 5 feet tall. And the basket is 10 feet tall.
Did you see how high she was on that double clipping front?
Do you want to arm wrestle?
No.
Maybe back in '92.
Back in 92, I would have. She has a season or a career high of 9.8 on floor and is well on her way of beating out with this routine. Plus, you know, this is exactly what teams are supposed to do. Start out with this strong, solid routine, but generally considered your consistent but not necessarily your strongest floor routine, and build towards the end so that the judges are forced to go higher and higher with the scores. And that's exactly what this team is doing tonight.
And the scores have already been very high. So we'll see what, if Stephanie can keep it going here, she may
That's exactly what
break
coaches
the
try
bank
to
here.
do. Round off, whip half, front full. Not the upgraded last tumbling pass that the judges want to see, but my, what a first tumbling run.
The punch double front, right?
I'm not even sure I'd try that into the foam pit. Punch, front layout, front
Next up
layout,
on beam from
front pipe.
Minnesota, Carmelina Carvajal.
Back to the balance beam now for Minnesota and Carmelina Carvajal.
straddle jump, high jump. I think Minnesota, even though they've had a few problems, I think for the most part they actually look fairly poised on beam. I mean, their routines, they move quickly and with confidence, and they're really strong on the landing positions. I mean, not all of them have been exactly right, but really, you know, a lot of times gymnasts will look scared, move kind of slow, and they look like they really spend a lot of time and work out up on the beam. They look very comfortable. Kick over front. Changement to sheep jump. Full turn to swing through full, and what a great routine for Minnesota. Not only was that just solid in terms of not wobbling, but a good amount of difficulty.
Here's Ashley Postel with a chance to really make some noise in terms of an all-around score.
She has a career high of 39.775 in the all-around. We'll see how close to that she comes tonight. Triple twist, done just about as well as it can be performed. She's also capable of doing an Arabian double front. I don't think she would try that on her second tumbling run. She opted for the triple full. 2.5 twist to front tuck. For our final tumbling run. You know, and like I said before, I love Utah's floor routines. I think they're a good combination of, you know, sharp and dramatic, but still dancing and still moving. And I like the selection of floor music. They're dynamic, they're fun to listen to, and it's not too much of any one thing. Rudy, last pass, still rated a D, even though it doesn't look as difficult, so no deduction in the difficulty of the last pass. And Utah just really took the meat home here on floor. I mean, there is not a lot for the coaches to say went wrong with this competition.
Next up on beam.
Our final competitor on the balance beam tonight is Minnesota's Ashley Stanton.
Unique shoulder roll mount. Here in the background, the score for Ashley is coming up. A little distracting for the beam routine. There's a kick over front to a sit. So far, a great routine for Minnesota to finish with on the beam. Switch leap, straddle jump, pike jump.
We may have a new career high for Ashley Postel if my math is correct, but we'll talk about that later.
Your math or the score?
Both.
Back handspring, layout, step out, and just a slight balance check. You know, Minnesota's really done well on the beam after their little bit shaky start on bars. They've actually come back with a pretty solid performance.
And of course, we hope Ashley Muchler's okay, who looked like she sprained an ankle or...
Right, well, yeah, and she didn't, you know, crash or fall on a tumbling pass. So probably just a strong sprain, but too much to obviously tumble on and pull out.
All right, that's going to wrap up 4 rotations. We'll be back with the final scores of tonight's meet right after this timeout. Welcome back to the Huntsman Center, and your all-around winner tonight with a fabulous score of 39.800, Ashley Postel.
Well, can you believe the competition that she had? There were a couple of records that were broken into today. And Ashley's was certainly one of them.
She will now move into a tie for 4th place all-time in the top all-around scores in Utah school history.
What a fantastic meet for Ashley. And not only that, but Christina Basquette going 39.6 and Nina Kim 39.55. Tell you, the coaches are going to sleep easy tonight with those kind of all-around scores.
And here are the team scores being announced now. Minnesota 194.100 and Utah with an unbelievable score in their 4th meet of the year of 197.750.
And that is a new top 10, new 10th place all-time high score.
Just a fabulous meet for the University of Utah as they came in. They took control of this meet early, and really it was a competition between Utah and Utah tonight as these all-arounders went toe-to-toe with each other, and everybody stepped up their routines. You talked about the improvements that they wanted to make here in February, and they are off to a great start in this month.
Well, they are, and really they have a little bit of more work to do on floor, and then I think they're there.
So Utah scores 49.550 on floor, 49.550 on vault, and bars and beam were both 49.325, a 197.750. And this, Missy, might just move Utah up in the rankings. They're 2nd right now, but this score is going to be tough for Georgia.
Well, we'll find out Monday, and that definitely would be tough to beat. I mean, Georgia would have had to have the meet of their lives also, and I'm not sure that they're healthy enough yet to be able to do that. You know, and to some degree it's irrelevant, but again, you know, it's a good confidence boost, and it's something, you know, you don't hang your hat on it, and yet it's nice to have. It's a nice title to have.
So fabulous performances by Ashley Postel, Christina Basquette, and Nina Kim in the all-around as Utah with a convincing win tonight here at the Huntsman Center over the University of Minnesota. Next up for Utah, it's a trip down to Provo next week. Utah at BYU next Friday night at 7 o'clock. Our next televised meet comes up on Sunday, March 9th. It's Utah versus Oregon State at the Huntsman Center on Friday, March 7th. We'll have it for you on ABC4 on Sunday, March 9th at 11 a.m. Missy, it's been fun. Thanks for being with us tonight. We'll look forward to you and Wesley for the Oregon State meet, and we're going to say so long. For Missy Marlowe, I'm Kent Root saying good night, everybody.